Hi, everybody. This is Gatsad for the SAAD Truth. On Friday, I returned from a short one-day trip to Philadelphia where I was invited to participate in a panel discussion on developing a code of conduct for how people should behave at the Informs conference. This is the organization that manages the Marketing Science conference. Marketing Science is the branch of in for academics in marketing that are the quantitative modelers. So the folks who usually apply various modeling techniques to study marketing phenomena would typically go to the Marketing Science Conference. And so I was invited by Fred Feinberg, who's a professor at the University of Michigan, who I got to know when I had been invited 10 years ago to the University of Michigan to speak in the psych department and in the business school. I had gotten to know him then, and so he was kind enough to invite me to participate in that conversation. It was a very nice discussion. We addressed all sorts of issues, which I'm not sure if I'll do another clip on it at some point. But in any case, the real point of today's clip is what happened after the end of that session. I had reached out to Russell Thompkins Jr., who is the former lead singer of the Stylistics. For those of you who don't know them, you really need to know them. They are arguably the most famous of all soul groups from the genre called the Philly sound. Other groups include Blue Magic and the Delphonics. So there's a whole cluster of groups that came out of Philadelphia in the 60s and 70s that were all produced by a few guys who were incredible musical producers, and that became known as the Philly sound. So I grew up listening to the Stylistics and the Delphonics. This is the music that tugs at my heartstring strings the most. So they're very much childhood heroes of mine, especially Russell Thompkins Jr., who is the main voice through most of the songs of the Stylistics. He's got a very famous falsetto range when he sings. In any case, if you don't know them, just go and check. Go on YouTube, do the Stylistics, and enter the Stylistics, and you'll see a million hits that they had. Now, for those of you who don't know the story, back in 2001, when I had moved to California, I was a visiting professor at the University of California of Irvine. I had contacted the representatives of the Stylistics on a whim, thinking that hey, let me find out how much it would cost to have the Stylistics do a private concert. It was sort of a fantasy I had, and I was quickly disabused of that notion, because apparently it turns out that professors don't make enough money to be able to afford the Stylistics. In any case, many years later, when I now had my show and I had a much larger platform where I had already invited many wonderful people to chat with me on my show, I thought, let me try to contact the representatives of the Stylistics and see if I could invite Russell to come on the show. It took a while, but finally I was able to connect with Russell. He came on the show. If you haven't seen our chat, please check it out. He's everything that I would have expected him to be: a lovely, gracious, elegant man who that is exactly in accord with his breathtaking singing ability. But in any case, since I was going to Philadelphia, I wrote to Russell and asked if he wanted to meet for to get together after my conference, which he was gracious enough to accept. So we met at my hotel lobby, which already was you could imagine, a wonderful experience to have one of your childhood musical heroes meeting you to go out on the town. We went and had dinner, and he was, as you would expect of such a classy gentleman, he insisted that he pick up the tab, and so now he has to allow me to reciprocate when he comes and visits me in Montreal. And then after that, after we had dinner, a very wonderful dinner with truly wonderful, intimate conversation, we then went walking downtown Philadelphia, where I was basically getting a personal tour, and I'll put a clip at the end of a moment that I taped of our time together downtown. So he started showing me around the Walk of Fame, very much like the Hollywood star area where they have the Hollywood stars on the ground. And, here's the Stylistics. Here's him. Here's the lead singer of the Stylistics showing me the Stylistics star, and then the Delphonics and all the musical producers who also have stars there. And of course, he knows all of them. He showed me, here's the building where I first met Tom Bell. This is the famous musical producer who produced both the Stylistics and the Delphonics. Here's where this happened, here's where that happened. And I'm getting it straight from the gentleman himself, who was the, if you like, the pioneer, the leader of all that musical genre. And of course, during our conversation, I mean, he knows everybody. He's every imaginable top musician that you could think of and singer. Of course, they've crossed paths with the Stylistics at some point. So it's just wonderful to be able to be privy to that sort of musical history. But I guess the last point I wanted to mention is, as we were walking around Philadelphia, of course, people would walk up to him, recognizing him, and all sorts of people. In one case, there was this gentleman who looked like he was a bit down on his luck. Russell had said to him, I'll get you on the way back, meaning, I'll give you some money on the way back. And I thought he was just sort of saying that, and, we probably won't loop back that way. Well, true to how wonderful of a human being he is, on the way back, he pulls out some money, and I said, oh, wow, so you actually remembered the gentleman. He goes, oh, yeah, I was going to come back and give him money. And so we stop, and then the guy to whom Russell was about to give him money recognizes Russell, and so they start reminiscing. He was roughly Russell's age, and we're standing there. This is a homeless man, really down on his luck. There was no pretense, there was no arrogance. Just three guys in this case. That, well, one of them is a historic singer. I'm accompanying him, and there's this other gentleman who is, reminiscing with him. Oh, I was the bartender when you sang when you were 18 and your first hit had come out. And so they're reminiscing over specific guys that they grew up with in Philadelphia. And so the whole evening was filled with these little, legendary, historic musical moments that I was truly privileged to be a part of. And I dare say that I think Russell and I have now become friends. He's thinking of maybe coming to Montreal to see the jazz festival at some point with his wife. And so this is, I guess, a story to tell you that if you go out there and you're open to people and you're persistent and you treat people with respect and you send out the right cues, wonderful things can happen. In this case, I got to meet, and now I can say become friends with certainly my childhood musical hero. So there you have it, folks. I hope you're having a great Saturday. Today was a tough day on a World Cup front. Lionel Messi missed a penalty kick against Iceland. They tied 1-1. I'm not even sure they're going to now get out of the group. We'll see. There you have it, folks. Remember, enjoy life. Cheers, everybody. I am getting a personal tutoring job from the king of Philly soul himself, Russell Thompkins Jr. Thank you, sir. Cheers.
All right, you got it.